South Africa secured a 12-month extension of AGOA, but I think it would be safe to not make the mistake that this is some kind of a long-term victory because it looks and feels like a pause and not necessarily a long-term plan for relations with the United States of America. For more than 2 decades now, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act has given South African exporters preferential access to US markets, supporting jobs in very, very key sectors like the automotive and manufacturing industry, agriculture, and agro processing. But this latest extension is unusually short, and it comes against the backdrop of strained geopolitics, shifting global alliances, and growing uncertainty about the future of US and South African trade relations. And we've been tracking the story since sometime last year because I think winning signs have always been there when it comes to AGOA and just how long does it still have as an existing agreement between the US and African countries, at least in its current form and the way we know and understand it to be. So, yeah, it looks like its days may be numbered, and we'll be asking very, very important questions this morning. What does this 1 year reprieve really tell us? Is Washington sending a political message? And is South Africa doing enough to prepare for a post AGOA world? Because it looks like it may continue as a concept, but not necessarily without South Africa, because that was the debate in the US. Should we or should we not include South Africa in this trade agreement that we have with the rest of the continent? So, we're going to be unpacking that, the trade, political, and geopolitical implications. And we'll be joined now by a good friend of the show, Associate Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Johannesburg, Dr. David Monyae. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to News and Views. Good morning.
Good morning to you and to all listeners.
And I think we'll jump right into it. AGOA has been extended for just 1 year, a very, very short window compared with some of the past renewals. First, can you briefly just give us insight on what AGOA has meant for the South African economy over the past 2 decades, right up until this point, and how do we analyze where we find ourselves currently, where it almost feels like South Africa could be given a cold shoulder when it comes to the next extension or the next restructuring of this trade agreement?
I think the best and simple way of putting it is that with the dawn of 1994, democratic South Africa, the US was entering into a number of free trade agreements with a number of countries. In North America, with Europe and everyone else, under Bill Clinton. And when it came to Africa, they came up with AGOA. I think the main aim was to handle poor countries, developing countries, and the poorest being African. And in that setting, South Africa did not fit perfectly well. However, the thinking was that United States would want to help democratic South Africa, given the fact that apartheid, a number of South Africans were still very poor, even though as a country did not perfectly fit alongside African government. So throughout these decades, South Africa is there, but not fully there, as in a perfect fit within that arrangement. It was part of assisting and alleviating issues. And it worked quite well, motor industry and all issues that you've mentioned. I think for South Africa business, as well as the American business. So the manner in which is being mentioned throughout, it appears if it's only South Africa that is benefiting. It's a win-win arrangement. So with or without AGOA, both South Africa will lose and the United States will lose. And it comes as no surprise that they've renewed it, they've added South Africa. It is in America's interest also to have South Africa in there.
This extension this time around, I think it came after a lot of debates in the US, and it's also very, very much shorter than many of the other extensions in the past. Effectively, a 1 year kind of lifeline. What do you think this almost signals about the state of US and Africa trade relations, and particularly the political calculus in Washington at this moment?
I think that decision was made not because of South Africa, whether we're in good books with the US or not. I think the decision is based on President Donald Trump and the changes within the US itself when it comes to trade. I think you see global trade is just in tatters with the tariffs, and the world is changing. I think at Davos you had the Prime Minister of Canada saying there's this rupture. So when you talk about rupture, that the entire post-1945 world order is changing and shifting to something that we don't know. So I think in that situation, I thought that the Americans, while they're thinking of the best way out, they just added an extension with a view of either extending again or just get rid of it. So it can go either way.
And I think the getting rid of it aspect is one that has been top of the mind for a lot of people, because many economists are arguing that deeper trade integration, especially within Africa, with the, I think it's the Africa Free Trade Agreement, could reduce dependence on external markets. Is the AGOA extension, this short extension of AGOA, almost a prompt for South Africa and other African countries to accelerate internal and regional trade strategies, and also look for other markets outside of the United States of America who have proven that they can't be reliable with this administration, even though they are a very, very big deal, and they're a very, very big market, especially for emerging economies like that of the African continent.
Indeed, I think the best term we currently use is de-risking. Europe is doing the same. China, in anticipation of Donald Trump, I think with tariffs and everything else, they did the same. They de-risk by moving to other markets. And we have seen that instead of Chinese economy going down, they have a trade surplus of 1 trillion, first time in world history, by opening new markets. But South Africa is also doing the same. There is a policy that is underway from the trade and industry side called the Butterfly. So it's going to markets that we've never been to in Latin America, in Asia, Eastern Europe, other places such as your Philippines, and really divert some of those trade that we are used to with the United States, so that we don't put all our eggs in one basket. So that lessens our dependence on the United States. So it appears it's too soon to make any clear statement about it, but I think it is working. I think you'll see on a year-to-year going forward, the trade numbers with the United States will be on the decline. So I think that's the best way to handle the situation.
Should we be looking at our relations with the US right now, whether diplomatic or trade wise, as an issue of an administration, so this Donald Trump second coming and the current administration, or should we start viewing it on a longer term basis, that America that we thought we knew, we thought we understood, and we thought we enjoyed this really great trade and bilateral relations with, is not exactly who we thought they were, and it just took a president like Donald Trump to make us realize that?
In the United States, when it comes to trade and foreign policy, it doesn't really matter who is in the White House, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. With or without Donald Trump, we'll be in this kind of situation. And if we go back during Biden era, the rumblings around AGOA was there. I think the tension in South Africa was not as nasty as under Donald Trump, but there were issues. And therefore, I think what he has done was just to bring everything at a go and direct in a very naked way. And therefore, I think going forward, there's a need to have a proper policy on US. US remains an important country, strategic partner. We have so much in common United States, not just democracy, the African diaspora, United States, culture, and the history that we have with the United States. But we also equally have disagreements, and some of them are so fundamental on international law, on so many issues that we once shared the United States, and the United States seem to move away from that. On promoting democracy, on international law, and therefore I think there is a new way of thinking that is emerging, that middle powers such as South Africa, your Canada, your Indonesia, somehow and some European countries need to find a balancing act, how to handle United States on one hand, and equally how to handle China and other more powerful countries.
Well, they have it, Dr. David Monyae. Always a pleasure having you on air. I really appreciate you giving us the time. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
There you go. That was Dr. Monyae helping us unpack the complexities behind AGOA's one-year extension and what it means for South Africa's place in global trade, what it means for Africa, and this new global order that we're seeing unfold in front of us. And it'll be interesting to see what happens after 12 months because, as mentioned, this is a 12 months extension, so until the end of 2026, beginning of 2027. And I want to hear from South Africans at this point. Do you want to see a world where our country is completely weaned off from the United States of America, where we aggressively make a push towards intensive trade with the African continent through the African Continental Free Trade Area? Could this administration of the United States almost be a blessing in disguise, where it almost shows you that you always need to be on your feet when it comes to diplomacy, when it comes to trade agreements? You can't rest on your laurels because countries like the United States of America can just wake up and say, yeah, because of your position on this and this and this, because of your association with so and so, we have decided that we're no longer going to be adhering to these trade agreements, ultimately impacting and affecting the economy of your country, jobs that are very, very scarce in a country like ours? Or would you rather see a South Africa that almost weathers the storm, the Donald Trump administration, because it is what it is? At the end of the day, you can't ignore the United States of America. They're a big global market, they're a big geopolitical player, very, very influential. But it just feels different with this administration. So do you take this as a wake-up call to say, hey, I need to get my house in order, I need to find alternative markets, I need to build stronger diplomatic relationship with other countries, so that you soften the blow when a country like the United States of America wakes up one day and says, I don't want to play ball with you anymore because, well, Russia, Iran, BRICS, and. Or it's an issue of an administration. Or as David Monyae, Dr. David Monyae said, it doesn't matter who's at the helm. It doesn't matter whether it's a Republican or it's a Democrat who's leading the United States of America. When it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to trade, it's always America first. So that's another angle of things. How do you feel? AGOA given 1 year extension, South Africa given a lifeline of some sort. But when you talk about trade and you talk about business, 1 year, it's nothing. It's essentially nothing in the greater scheme of things, because you need longer term agreements. You need trading routes that you can't say, okay, for 6 months we'll be shipping to the US, and then after, no. It's a bigger ball game that needs time. But how do you feel as a South African that AGOA has gotten a 12-month extension that's secured? We can stop worrying about that. What do we do now? can engage with us. Our studio line is 011-680-0355. On WhatsApp, you can send us a message, voice note on 061-766-0355. You can comment on our various social media platforms, and now you can let us know how you feel, and we'll read out all of your comments live on air, or you can call and we can interact on the radio. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, News and Views continues after this.